So I wanted to make this video just on today's warm-up, which is one that you'll have Monday through Friday to work on. I'm gonna try to do this in pencil, see if you guys can see on screen. Maybe I'll zoom in a little bit and see how I build up a picture into a finished piece. So very quickly, the first step, I'm just looking at whatever's on the board, simple shapes. You know, trying to draw whatever I see up there. So right now I'm kind of drawing what's the head. I have like a little line that kind of shows me the curvature of the spine. Here at the bottom, I'm drawing like the bottom of the body. There's one foot that goes here and the other foot that goes there. And then right from the bottom of the face, I have two hands, one that goes this way and the other one that goes this way. I have a couple of ears and I'll just kind of draw them with some simple shapes, just like something like that. And that is my sketch. That is pretty much my sketch for this drawing. So what's the next step? The next step is to look at the picture that's up there and think to yourself, okay, for me, what's the easiest part of this drawing to do? So, you know, we're always doing cartoon characters because you can see the outlines easy. And for me, I don't know, I always feel like for the most part, like the majority of the time when I'm drawing these characters, if I can start with the face and get this down, everything else will kind of line up and fall in place. So that's what I'm gonna do with this one. Just like this big nose. And this, what I'm doing now, I guess you can call it, I guess like my secondary sketch. I'm still trying to draw light, not too dark, because I don't know if these lines that I'm doing are gonna be part of my final drawing, but this is what I'm gonna do, is build it up, and I'm gonna call this my secondary sketch. Like I said, I'm not trying to be like super perfect, but I'm just trying to put things in this place kind of where things go, because you can always make changes. You know, we draw in pencil so that if anything looks out of place and we draw light, if anything looks out of place or doesn't look right, you can always erase it and try it again. So this is kind of what I have right now. And not paying too much attention to the major details, just kind of trying to draw what I'm seeing on screen. All right, so this is what would be my steps. Now the reason I'm going over this is because a lot of times when I go over these things on the board, I'm doing this in pencil and some of you guys are getting confused. You're like, okay, well, he's using his markers, and how should we be doing this? So I just kind of wanted to share this with you because, you know, as you can see, I am still using very loose, light lines and just a little at a time trying to build up my picture into a finished piece, okay? So that's kind of what I would draw as I am working on this picture here. Now, once you know that you're gonna have some lines that, oh, these are my good lines, then you can take a Sharpie or a marker and outline your stuff. Then you can outline. But until then, keep drawing light. Don't draw too dark, because once you start drawing dark, you know, if you mess up and you want to erase, you're gonna leave those ghost lines. Also, you know, the secondary sketch that I'm doing is still like sketchy, not really a finished line. So one of the things that you can practice on also is, there we go, is working on keeping your lines sketchy until the point that you know your final lines are in. And once you're gonna draw your final lines, you know, I see a lot of people when they draw their final lines, they're still kind of shaky and sketchy, but you really need to like focus, especially on that part, so that it can look very nice, finished, and like a professional, I don't want to say professional, but like a finished piece with no sketch lines. at the very end, you're gonna get rid of your sketch lines and just be left with your good pencil lines. Oh, and then let me draw the teeth, and then I'll outline it so you can kind of see like the steps that I go through. Right, there's that. Boom, right? I'm gonna pause that right there so you can kind of see what my pencil looks like. And then now I'll go over what I do next. So your options are either the regular point Sharpie or this one, fine point or the ultra fine. Now it just depends on the drawing, but I will tell you that, you know, in my opinion, depending on the picture, depends on the thickness of the line, which one you want to use. For this picture here, I think I'm going to use the regular fine point. Now, I will tell you that if we're using this regular computer sketch paper and you're putting Sharpie on this, it is going to go through and it could mark your table. So what we need to do is get into the habit of putting some sort of scratch paper behind it. And if it was me, I would probably just grab a regular, paper and put it under it so that it won't bleed through and go through to the table. So now I'm really looking at my final shapes. And I'm trying to draw my lines as clean as possible. What I don't want is I don't want like shaky lines. I don't want my lines to still look sketchy. I want them to look as clean and as finished as possible. So that's what you want to do whenever you're drawing yours. Start off with a very nice sketch, very light. Go into your secondary sketch and build up your picture. And once you have like your final lines, you can take your Sharpie and outline. Remember that last week we said one of the things that we really need to practice on is drawing super light, because if we have dark pencil, one of the things that the dark pencil does is it clogs the point of the Sharpie. So if your pencil lines are light, it will not do that. So practice, we can all use the practice of drawing light. And that's just something that happens when you're a new artist. You don't think about all the steps, you're just kind of worried about the one particular step you're on. But keep that in mind when you're drawing, that you need to practice and really take into consideration drawing as light as you can. Okay, so here I am, I'm trying to make my lines as clean as possible, really looking at my picture and making sure that everything's in place. And from here, I will have a nice finished piece. Now you might look at my picture and say, well, that doesn't look exactly as what's on the board. And I tell you what, I don't think any of us can draw exactly 100% with accuracy what we see up there. We kind of put our own little flair on it, but it's gonna be pretty close. And that's the main thing. We're trying to make that connection between being able to control our hand and drawing what's on the board. And that was really gonna help with all your drawing throughout the year. If you think about it, each one of your warm-up drawings that we do this year, it should be getting better and better with each one that we do. All right. And the last thing I kind of see on the board that it has these lines that are like the light blue outline of the eyes. I'm actually going to use this thin one because on the picture, it's really not a black line. It's actually like a color differentiation between the light blue and the dark blue. So I don't want it to be too prominent. So I am going to use this lighter, thinner Sharpie for that one. And that would be, and I just did the head so I can kind of see the steps, right? And then what would be the last step? The last step would be to take my big eraser and erase all my pencil lines. So I'm just gonna take this regular, because I don't have a big eraser right now, but my last step would be to come in here and erase all my pencil lines, okay? So those are the steps you want to follow. Last time, you know, on the warm-ups, I noticed that some people, they left pencil lines. I also noticed that some people would add their color and then try to outline next. But you always want to do sketch lines, build up your picture with secondary lines, and then go to your finish lines and keep it light. And then the very last thing is outline and erase your pencil. And once you do that, you'll be left with almost like a coloring book picture, right? Just your really good lines at the end. And then you can add your color after that, okay? So keep that in mind when you are drawing.